Fox 32 has information indicating the FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has been following allegations of her misspending.
Breaking this morning, 3 lawsuits just announced against controversial suburban Mayor Tiffany Henyard. The plaintiffs, they are all former employees of Thornton Township and the village.
Top aide to Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard has been indicted for bankruptcy fraud. It comes amid ongoing questions about Henyard's spending and leadership.
And legal
If you thought Tiffany Henyard was just your average small-town mayor, think again. This so-called super mayor of Dalton loved to shout from the rooftops about how she was running things until all her dirty little secrets spilled out and made everyone realize she was more of a super nightmare for the poor residents. We're talking embezzlement, threats, fraud, the whole crime cocktail. Word on the street is she was acting more like a thug in office than an official. So what did the FBI dig up when they came knocking on her door? And is it enough to finally send her packing to prison? Let's rewind a bit, for dramatic effect, and start from the top. Miss Tiffany wasn't just the mayor of tiny Dalton. Oh no, she also held the reins as the supervisor of Thornton Township. Talk about a power trip. But the queen of Dalton didn't stop there. She practically ran the streets like she was starring in a gangster movie, and now her empire is crumbling under all these scandalous allegations.
Henyard actually has 2 political jobs on 2 public payrolls, as mayor of South Suburban Dalton, or as she calls herself, super mayor, and supervisor of Thornton Township, where she makes over $200,000.
Is Tiffany Henyard's reign as the mayor of Dalton hanging by a thread? Well, the rumors are hotter than ever, and the answer could be just around the corner. Word on the street is that federal agents have uncovered some seriously juicy evidence. And guess what? They've got a line of key witnesses ready to spill the tea on Mayor Henyard's very questionable actions. With each passing day, the investigation digs deeper, and Henyard's empire is starting to feel the squeeze. Her once untouchable leadership, let's just say those walls are closing in fast, and the scandals keep piling up.
Yeah, we've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton mayor and Thornton Township supervisor.
Once celebrated as a local hero and a beacon of hope, Henyard's tenure has plunged into chaos, transforming into one of the juiciest scandals of the year. We're talking financial misconduct, federal investigations, and a growing list of new charges that have cast a shadow over her once stellar reputation. What began as a promising political journey has now morphed into a full-blown storm, threatening to not only sully her public image, but potentially boot her out of office.
We are following some breaking news out of suburban Dalton.
And this comes just days after the trustees terminated the deputy police chief. Now the mayor of the village, Tiffany Henyard, has appointed him to a new position.
Dalton, the charming little village that should have been basking in suburban tranquility, is now caught in a relentless spotlight for all the wrong reasons. What used to be a peaceful haven with well-manicured streets and a tight-knit community is now at the center of a scandal that's left residents reeling and the village's reputation in tatters.
In Dalton, Illinois, where they had their monthly board meeting, and citizens, trustees, and the mayor went back and forth. It was, again, absolutely insane.
At the eye of this storm is Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who once represented hope and progress, but now stands accused of steering Dalton into an economic abyss. This once thriving village, known for its steady growth and community spirit, has been branded a financial disaster zone. The allegations are damning. Gross mismanagement of public funds, dubious financial maneuvers, and a reckless approach to governance that many say has pushed the village to the edge of collapse. Under Henyard's watch, the resources meant to uplift the community have seemingly vanished, leaving Dalton in a state of uncertainty where there once was prosperity.
Everything she has initiated has been to promote her.
The frustration and anger in Dalton are nothing short of explosive. Once bustling businesses are now gasping for survival, essential services have been slashed, and the village's morale has plummeted. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who once symbolized hope and progress, now faces a community seething with betrayal and abandonment. As the accusations against her pile up, the once unthinkable question looms large. Has Mayor Henyard single-handedly plunged Dalton into financial ruin?
Henyard actually has 2 political jobs on 2 public payrolls, as mayor of South Suburban Dalton, or as she calls herself, super mayor.
The scandal's implications extend far beyond this quiet suburb, serving as a stark warning about the perils of unchecked power and the catastrophic impact of poor leadership. Dalton, which once epitomized the American dream, now stands as a cautionary tale, with Henyard's legacy hanging by a thread. Just a few years ago, Dolton was the little village that could, boasting a multi-million-dollar surplus and a future that seemed brighter with every passing day. The town's finances were robust, streets were pristine, and the community was united in its faith in its leaders. But that idyllic picture has crumbled. Now Dolton is drowning in a staggering $3.5 million debt, a dramatic reversal that has left residents and observers alike asking the same heart-wrenching question: what on earth went wrong?
To address some things as the supervisor.
As Dolton's financial crisis spirals into chaos, the one person who should be leading the charge to save the village is nowhere to be found. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who was once the embodiment of hope and progress, has mysteriously vanished just when her leadership is needed the most. With the village teetering on the edge of financial ruin, Henyard's disappearance has left residents in the dark, grappling with mounting debt and no clear path forward. The community's frustration is palpable as they face not only the grim reality of their financial situation, but also the added sting of a leader who seems to have disappeared in their hour of need. Many are left questioning whether their mayor has simply abandoned them, opting to evade the escalating pressure rather than tackle the crisis head-on. Once hailed as a beacon of positive change, Henyard is now a symbol of controversy and disillusionment. Her absence speaks volumes, casting a long shadow over her legacy. As Dolton struggles to stay afloat, the burning question on everyone's mind is: where is Tiffany Henyard, and why has she left her community to fend for itself amid this financial catastrophe?
And that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Let's take a closer look at the controversial rise of Tiffany Henyard, a journey that was anything but your typical political success story. Henyard didn't waltz into the mayoral office on a groundswell of popular support, backed by a visionary platform and effective policies. Her path to power was far from smooth and was marred by a series of dubious and opaque decisions that left many both puzzled and uneasy. Instead of earning the trust of Dolton's residents through a hard-fought campaign, Henyard's ascent appeared to be driven by behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Political favors and shadowy alliances seem to have played a much bigger role in her rise than the will of the electorate. Rumors quickly swirled around the true nature of her appointment, with many suspecting that her entry into the mayoral office had less to do with her qualifications and more to do with secret deals and backroom politics. One person wrote, "They elected a thief stealing from cars as a trustee and then elected her mayor. She should be in jail." Another one added, "A blind man could see this is a giant grift. The woman is a criminal. She needs a very long prison sentence to think about it all." Whispers of corruption shadowed Tiffany Henyard's tenure from the very beginning. The manner in which she was installed as mayor planted seeds of distrust that only grew over time. Instead of starting her term with a clean slate and the confidence of the community, Henyard found herself mired in skepticism and doubt. Residents of Dolton were left questioning whether their new mayor was truly there to serve them or if she was merely a puppet for those with hidden agendas. This rocky start set the stage for a tumultuous time in office, where controversies seemed to follow her at every turn. What should have been a role defined by leadership and public service quickly became tainted by suspicion and allegations of underhanded tactics. From day one, Henyard's leadership was under a cloud, not just because of the scandals that would later erupt, but because of the very circumstances of her rise to power. Her ascent lacked the legitimacy that comes from genuine public support, and that missing foundation seemed to haunt her throughout her tenure, making her eventual fall from grace almost seem like a foregone conclusion. It all started with the sudden passing of the previous mayor, Frank Zuccarelli, a loss that sent Dolton's political scene into a whirlwind. The task of appointing a new mayor fell to the Dolton Township Board, already a fractured group struggling to find common ground. As the days ticked by and pressure mounted, the board faced a race against time to fill the vacant seat.
History is going to be made today in South Suburban Dolton. Tiffany Henyard will be sworn in as the village's first woman mayor. Henyard won 82% of the vote in the April election.
Amidst the chaos and growing tension, trustee Christopher Gonzalez made a dramatic move that would change everything. Out of the blue, he nominated Tiffany Henyard, an unfamiliar name in the local political arena. Henyard wasn't a seasoned politician or a prominent community figure. She was more of an outsider with minimal experience and even less recognition. She wasn't even the board's top choice, but in the thick of the turmoil and urgency, her name emerged as a compromise candidate, a last-minute solution in a desperate situation. Henyard's nomination was nothing short of a bombshell for Dolton. It wasn't just that she was an unlikely choice, it was the sheer abruptness of her elevation that left many stunned. The appointment seemed to come out of nowhere, skipping over more seasoned and well-known figures who were expected to step up. This sudden shift sparked speculation and raised serious questions about what was really happening behind the scenes. Some whispered that Henyard was simply a convenient pawn, someone easily manipulated by the unseen hands controlling the levers of power. This surprising turn of events marked the beginning of Henyard's controversial tenure, one tainted by doubts about her qualifications, intentions, and the mysterious forces that propelled her to power. From the outset, her appointment was perceived by many as the result of political maneuvering rather than a sincere effort to serve Dolton's best interests. And as subsequent events would reveal, this shaky start was merely the prelude to a tumultuous and scandal-plagued chapter in the village's history.
Hey guys, it's the Super Mayor, Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
But with the clock ticking down and the pressure mounting, the board begrudgingly accepted Gonzalez's nomination. Just like that, Tiffany Henyard was sworn in as mayor mere minutes before midnight. It was a move that felt less like a democratic transition and more like someone sneaking in through a side door, bypassing the usual scrutiny that accompanies such a significant appointment. And that's when things started to get murky. As soon as Henyard assumed office, she didn't ease into her new role. She hit the ground running. Instead of a smooth transition, she began wielding her newly acquired powers with a heavy hand. One of her first and most controversial actions was to dismiss key officials who had been closely associated with the late Mayor Zuccarelli. These were seasoned professionals with deep roots in the community and a wealth of experience. Henyard's abrupt move sent shockwaves through Dolton, setting the stage for the tumultuous and scandal-ridden chapter that would follow. 3 individuals sued Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, alleging wrongful termination. They claim they were fired after refusing to engage in political work on Henyard's behalf. According to their lawsuit, their dismissals were directly linked to their refusal to support the mayor's political agenda, raising serious questions about the motives behind their firing. "The way she treated me and other people was wrong," said Samisha Williams, former director of building permits and licenses. Williams, former human resources manager for Thornton Township Sandra, and former Dolton Public Works Department administrative assistant Karen Johnson have all filed lawsuits. These 3 cases are all based around the same premise. These are wrongful terminations at the hands of Mayor Henyard and her administrations, said attorney Matthew Castardo. All 3 former employees assert that they were dismissed from their positions around the end of 2022. According to their claims, the issues began to escalate roughly a year prior, when the workplace environment started deteriorating significantly. One of the plaintiffs, Williams, reported that the troubles began when Mayor Henyard started requesting tasks that she found to be unethical. Williams alleges that the mayor's demands were not only inappropriate, but crossed moral and legal boundaries. She describes a growing sense of unease as Henyard's requests became increasingly problematic, pushing her to the edge. Despite her attempts to address these concerns, the atmosphere continued to sour, culminating in her termination. Withhold building permits and business licenses to people that didn't donate to her campaign or just people she didn't like in general, Williams said. Williams said she continued to raise concerns about these requests with the mayor, but was later moved to the water department before eventually being fired. "I was the only person at that time in the department who knew how to process business licenses, but they moved me to the water department anyway," she said. Another complaint in the lawsuit on behalf of Johnson claims that she was intentionally treated differently from other similarly situated employees, and there was no rational basis for the difference in treatment. The lawsuit also states, Henyard restricted certain village and/or township employees' access to village and/or township buildings. "We did a mock trial to practice muting the trustees because she didn't want the trustees to have a voice," Williams said. In her words, she was at war with the trustees. One of the former employees is hoping to get her job back from the lawsuit, while the other 2 are just hoping to move forward, as they say this has caused them emotional and financial damages. "I didn't want to file at first, but it didn't sit right with me to do nothing," said Williams. these weren't just any employees. They were long-standing pillars of Dolton's administration, individuals with deep roots in the community, and a wealth of experience that had shaped the village's governance for years. Their expertise and institutional knowledge made them invaluable to the smooth operation of local government. However, Mayor Tiffany Henyard seemingly disregarded their contributions and saw them as threats to her newfound authority. Henyard viewed these seasoned professionals not as assets but as potential challengers to her control. In a move that stunned the community, she dismissed them abruptly and without explanation. The sudden firings of these respected figures sent shockwaves through Dolton, leaving residents and colleagues alike grappling with questions about the mayor's true intentions. The lack of transparency surrounding their dismissals fueled speculation and suspicion. Many wondered if Henyard's actions were part of a broader strategy to consolidate her power by removing those who might oppose her or hold her accountable. As the dust settled, the community was left to piece together the puzzle of Henyard's motives, while the fired employees sought justice for what they believed were unjust and politically motivated terminations.
Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman?
Under Mayor Henyard, Dolton swiftly morphed into her personal fiefdom, where dissent was crushed and opposition silenced with an iron fist. As she consolidated her grip on power, whispers spread about her personal vendetta against anyone linked to the previous administration, especially those who had attempted to mentor her in her new role. The public soon caught on to the disturbing shift in leadership. It wasn't just a case of Henyard shaking things up. She was dismantling the very foundations of Dolton's governance. The once stable village found itself grappling with her harsh tactics, and it didn't take long for the community to see that Henyard's leadership was not just chaotic, but outright destructive. The transformation was both stark and alarming. What should have been a time of growth and progress had devolved into an unsettling era of authoritarian rule.
Them down.
I think you should pay everybody. Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for. You just
They knew what they were doing, and they thought they can get.
Firing a few employees was just the beginning of Tiffany Henyard's tumultuous tenure. Her actions post-inauguration painted a troubling picture. She either seemed utterly out of her depth or entirely indifferent to the fallout of her decisions. Henyard started surrounding herself with loyalists, individuals who would follow her orders without question. And follow they did, often employing aggressive tactics such as locking township officials out of their offices and allegedly intimidating anyone who dared to challenge her. Under Henyard's rule, the administration quickly earned a reputation for being both hostile and vindictive. The situation began to spiral dramatically when financial reports exposed a catastrophic shift in Dolton's budget. The village, once boasting a healthy surplus of $5.6 million, had plunged into a staggering deficit of $3.65 million within just 2 years. The dramatic reversal in Dolton's financial health highlighted the severity of the mismanagement and added fuel to the growing outrage among residents. The dramatic fiscal decline in Dolton raised a crucial question. How did a village that once enjoyed financial stability sink into such deep debt so quickly? As concerns mounted and scrutiny intensified, fingers pointed directly at Henyard. To unravel the mystery behind Dolton's alarming financial situation, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was appointed as a special investigator. Lightfoot didn't pull any punches in her preliminary findings. She exposed a landscape of fiscal mismanagement and potential misconduct that seemed to have defined Henyard's troubled administration. The investigation uncovered a troubling trail of questionable financial decisions and questionable practices, shining a harsh light on the chaos that had unfolded under Henyard's leadership.
Township residents are paying for her fund.
Lightfoot's investigation unearthed a shocking revelation. Mayor Henyard had been squandering taxpayer money with reckless abandon. The expenses were staggering: lavish trips, extravagant dinners, and shopping sprees that would make even a Kardashian blush. And the most jaw-dropping part, all these indulgences were charged to the village's credit card. The misuse of public funds was so extreme that it raised serious questions not only about Henyard's judgment, but also about her integrity as a public official. The revelations painted a picture of a leader more interested in personal pleasure than in serving her community, deepening the scandal and fueling outrage among Dolton's residents.
No reason for anyone from a township to go to a mayor's conference. A mayor's conference is a mayor's conference for mayors.
One jaw-dropping detail from Lightfoot's investigation revealed that Henyard once spent a staggering $33,000 in a single day on Amazon. Yes, you read that right, $33,000 in just one day, with no clear explanation of what was purchased or why such an exorbitant amount was deemed necessary. All of it was charged to the taxpayers, raising serious concerns about the misuse of public funds and Henyard's sense of accountability. And that's just scratching the surface. The investigation also uncovered massive overtime payments to select police officers, with some earning more in overtime than their base salaries. One officer alone accumulated a staggering $114,800 in overtime pay. It's no wonder Dolton's finances are in disarray when such exorbitant and unexplained expenses are part of the equation. But Henyard didn't stop at depleting the village's coffers. She also made the controversial decision to reappoint Deputy Police Chief Les Lacey, who was already entangled in federal charges for bankruptcy fraud. Henyard's choice to bring back a disgraced official only added fuel to the fire of mismanagement and scandal surrounding her administration.
Appointment, that's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure out their next steps.
The situation took a turn for the absurd when Mayor Henyard decided to reinstate Deputy Police Chief Les Lacey, despite his federal charges for bankruptcy fraud. The village trustees had placed Lacey on administrative leave, but Henyard's decision to bring him back was baffling, especially given the legal and ethical concerns surrounding his case. In a move that defied all logic, Henyard instructed the police department to follow Lacey's orders as if nothing had happened. When the trustees attempted to fire Lacey again, he simply continued showing up for work, as though his suspension had never occurred. The situation reached a new level of outrageousness when Henyard was recorded telling the police to stop playing these silly games and to comply with Lacey's directives despite his legal troubles and the trustees' clear vote of no confidence. This blatant disregard for both legal and administrative authority only fueled the growing chaos and scandal engulfing Dolton's government.
Absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit.
As if the scandals weren't enough, Henyard's inner circle faced intense scrutiny as well. Keith Freeman, her top aide and village administrator, found himself embroiled in his own legal troubles, charged with bankruptcy fraud and exposed for being overpaid during his previous role in another village. Freeman's continued presence on Henyard's staff only deepened suspicions that her administration was more concerned with protecting its own rather than addressing the needs of the public. The financial debacles were compounded by a growing wave of public outrage. Residents began calling Henyard the Dolton dictator, lambasting her for leading the village into financial chaos while living a high life funded by taxpayer dollars. The discontent wasn't confined to financial issues alone. Henyard also faced a harassment and retaliation lawsuit after a former employee accused one of her allies of inappropriate behavior during a work trip to Las Vegas. When the victim bravely came forward, she was promptly fired, further stoking the flames of anger and resentment among Dolton's residents. With scandals swirling around her, it's no wonder the feds have taken notice. The FBI has launched a thorough investigation into Henyard's activities, serving subpoenas to both Dolton and Thornton Township. They are seeking a wide array of records, from payroll and expenses to employment and credit card transactions. The investigation is ongoing, but the involvement of federal agents has only intensified the drama. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.